then you'll say
We'll
the
go ahead and
question.
do that then.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna start the
Getting
recording.
ourselves into a bit of a long thing.
All
But
right, this is QA with Kast and Semmler, and today we're just gonna be answering a couple questions that are commonly asked. Like we've done these QAs after in-game tournaments, and right now we're just gonna answer a couple key ones that we keep seeing over and over, and this is just for reference material. So Semmler, you got a question from Daniel. What is it?
yeah, by all means, we are just giving our opinions, and we don't have too much insider info. So if that's what you're coming for, sorry guys, SLS are the guys in the know. But we're at that point where we can sort of go ahead and give our opinions without sounding like complete fools. And going to go ahead and answer Daniel's question. Daniel, big guy in the community, he's asking, why do you think the majority of new players decide to play, and why do you think they decide to leave a week later, essentially? What's the question boils down to? How are these new players not coming in there and not staying? Why are we lacking the incentives that we need to keep them in the scene? And we did go into this a bit in our last Q&A session. What I think it comes down to is a few points, and I actually had a bit of a story to go along with it. Essentially, what really marked me about it when we were still in closed beta with this game, I had one of my close friends who is actually a developer over at Riot Gaming, who did League of Legends. And this guy has years of experience in the field. He knows exactly what the hell's going on. He's been director, he's been lead designer, so he has vast amount of experience in game design. And he was, bringing it down to a couple points where the two major points are, one, the user interface. The user interface is clunky. It's not intuitive. You're having trouble finding things. The vast majority of people, it just takes them time to even notice that there is a knowledge base at the top bar, where they could get a lot of their questions answered. And, just having everything on the same page like this just is not a very, new player user-friendly. It's not intuitive at all. So that would be one major point that he brought up. The second major point, and the one I think is really the most pertinent, is he died twice in the tutorial. And in a tutorial that is supposed to teach you how to play the game and be fun and get you hooked on the game, he managed to die twice to bots. And it's like, granted, this guy, he does have experience gaming. He is an experienced gamer, but he is fresh to the game. He doesn't know what is going on. He needs the game to tell him what to do and to help him learn and help him have fun. But the game kills him. And so, this is like a huge red flag. This is something you want to avoid at all costs. Your player dying within the first 2 minutes of playing your game is not something you want to happen in any situation. And so, these were two of the major points that I wanted to bring up. It's just, user interface is a big, big barrier to entry. And the fact that the game is so difficult right off the bat, it has such a high learning curve that if you're having players dying in the tutorial itself, the first thing that they're going to see when they get into this game, that is also a humongous barrier that they have to try and get over to even get into the pubs where they will, get stomped as well. So, Cast, we had so many points, it's kind of trying to, drudge them all back up again. What do you think, buddy?
Well, going, with the tutorial thing, it's like, yeah, I played this game and, I made another account to just do some testing with some stuff and to get some, like, lower player feedback, a little things. I joined some custom games and, tried to see what they were saying about some stuff. And, they were saying, like, oh, God, you can't find anything, or, this bloodline OP, or, like, what the heck does that bloodline do? So, yeah, like, your interface point is completely valid. It's like, you see this game, you log in. This is the login screen, right? Everything's, like, all red. You hardly notice there's, like, bloodline support, marketplace tutorial. You got this huge chat box, and this top bar, you, like, see icons. You don't see anything really that stands out, like a book. Nobody likes school unless you're like a scholar or big nerd. It's just like
Present.
You don't want to press that book. You'll be like, oh no, that's bringing back like bad high school and college days. It's like when I had to study. You don't want that. And the tournaments thing, it's just like a little cup with a 1. It's like, what kind of an interface is that? You get this big clunky menu. You don't know if a tournament's in progress. It's still under upcoming tournaments, and yeah, it just
needs
friendly.
a complete rework. Complete rework. It needs to be simplified down to the bare bones where they don't even have to think. When they just know right off the bat exactly what they're looking at. Big letters, big obvious
icons.
Pictures, big buttons. Just like big,
Well,
easy,
here's
just as simple as possible.
here's the thing that I want to point out. Okay, so like when you go to the knowledge base, like okay, yeah, you're given these 4 menus, but like you don't know what's in these like 4 menus, right? They're not like drop down and like you don't know what's in them, and you have to use this sort of like Windows Explorer, right? You're just like, oh, okay, so now I have to like, go down into this file and like see what these things are. There's no like nice graphical button to be like gameplay, like click 4 big buttons to like direct you to another like section
Page
where you can go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
there are other big buttons where it's really easy to just be like, oh, skins, and they have like a big button with like all like some new skins or something, or like a big glutton, giving you a bear hug or something like that that's saying like, oh, this is where I want to go if I want to buy this.
Yeah, or the same. Yeah, it's the same thing with the like marketplace. Like, I feel like I'm in Windows Explorer, which is not what I want to do. But like, what I want to touch on is like press ladder game, right? You press ladder game and you're like, wah, 3 humongous buttons that have like text, and you're like, oh, okay. Solo, there's a solo gunner. Teams, okay, there's a couple of bloodlines, and like it's huge. Why don't they have this graphical navigation system for the actual game itself? Because it's really easy to join a ladder game, right? You can be like solo, teams, tournaments. Okay, I know where I'm going. But like when you press like join game for customs, you're given a huge list of things. Like there's all these little icons that you have to scroll over to see what it is, and you can't even do any kind of search, like by name or by map type, slots. None of that works. So that's a huge error with the interface. But also, going away from interface, which we talked about, is one of the problems. And like the tutorial, like dying for new players, because this game is completely unique. And this is going to be part of my third point. This game is completely unique. It's a mix of, Alien Swarm, in which it's like a top-down and you shoot wherever your cursor is. It's a mix of like WoW Arena, where it's like 3v3 and you have to use abilities and stuff like that. It's a mix of, well, not exactly a first-person shooter, but you got to have some kind of Twitch elements in there.
Exactly. The same. They have the same user interface in that sense that you're moving WASD, you're pointing, you're aiming with your mouse, that sort of thing. That definitely comes back from the first-person shooter sort of style of play.
Yeah, and then you've got, some combos, so that's a little bit like fighting games, although they're not quite as, like, technical per se, but, you gotta have timing down for some things, and, it's such a mix of games that people are sort of overwhelmed. They're like, what is this? This is a new, like, is this a MOBA? It's not like Han, where I can just, like, right-click stuff, and, it's like, what's going on? And so people are just confused right off the bat, and, like, the tutorial doesn't help, but... in that aspect, it's a very difficult game because it is so unique, right? You have to aim every ability. There is no just right-clicking. There are no NPCs to farm. There is no kind of like fancy-dancy, intro into the game. It's like, boom, like you're stuck in there. If you miss, you're screwed. It's like they don't tell you how to use your abilities. Like if you miss a defensive ability, you're dead. There is no reviving. There is no like gold. There's nothing like item-wise to like make you feel happy and be like, yeah, I'm kicking ass. I got a bracers and a pair of boots. No, there's nothing like that. It's like you're either alive or you're dead. You're getting owned or you're owning. So it's like so competitive without any kind of fluff and without a good introduction that people just leave.
Well, check it out, dude. Ryu, BLC is awesome. It gives you a challenge, and real players don't give up. Well, the thing is, what makes games successful is actually the people who do give up. It's the casual gamer that actually makes a game money, that makes like Stunlock Studios. If they want to make money, they need to get the casual gamer interested in this game, because those are the guys who have disposable income and who are going to show up and who are just doing it for fun, and they want to have fun by buying the cool skin and buying the cool weapons and looking like a badass. Like that's what's fun for them. And the guys who are there, who are part of the competitive scene, have always been just the slight, like the upper crust. It's like a donut. You got the hole in the middle, and that's all the hardcore gamers like you, like Kast, like Maye, like all the top level players in this game, the guys who stick around, essentially. And then the donut, the fluff, the dough, basically of
goodness.
It is, exactly. And it's exactly that. It's the goodness. Those are the guys who are going to be paying the bills, and those are the guys who are going to be financing, the improvements that are going to make us, the hardcore players, more happy.
Yeah.
So
well, it's also gonna
it's a
give
tricky
them
issue.
money to for tournaments, right? They want to tune in and they want to see, like, oh, this game, it like has, I'm playing casually. I enjoy it. I want to see what high-level players are doing. Like, if casual players are not tuning into the tournaments because they're getting discouraged and leaving, they're not going to grow the game via, like, live streams, which isn't going to get any money for any tournaments, which isn't going to help the competitive players, which isn't going to help the intermediate players who are thinking about getting competitive. And, it doesn't help.
It really boils
the whole
down
system.
to, you can't have people dying in the tutorial. And you need to make it as accessible as possible right off the start. Maybe like SC2 was pretty nice in the sense that I thought this was interesting, and I was wondering why we can't incorporate some of this in the same form. They have those beginner maps, those like newbie maps or whatever you want to call them. When you first get into the ladder, you have your practice maps, and they have like rocks at the entrance to your base, so you can't die to any cheese. You kind of like sit there and you're like, okay, I feel ready to go out now. I'm not worried. I'm safe. And you go ahead, you break your rocks, and you get out there. But, just that kind of, gives you already, it's like you're not going to just, like, throw the game away because you got rushed 15 times and got baneling busted or, four-gated or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. It kind of just eases you in, and then you get out of those practice games, you get into the real ladder games, and then it's like the real deal, and you're getting baneling busted. Well, whatever, you're just going to deal with it at that point. But there needs to be some form of way to ease the player in, not just throw them to the sharks in the pubs, and just like where there are all these players who just take it way too seriously because they're like, oh, pubs, man, that's where it's at. Well, it's like, no, dude, you go to ladders if you want to have that mentality, but pubs is where you learn, and pubs are the first thing that new players are going to go to because they can't even join the ladder game. So you're throwing them to the sharks in the pubs, and these guys are just going to tear them a new one. Already they're not having fun. They're going to get stomped because they're already like trying to learn their bloodlines. They don't even know what the hell's going on yet. And it's just, all these things make it so difficult for the new player to stick around because it's like it feels like work at the start. You're like, man, I got to learn so much to even be competitive.
Yes, and that's another thing that I was going to mention. And I guess that's why I also like reside in like the knowledge base as my home. I'm still learning stuff. Like I know generally, and like I'm pretty detailed with a lot of things, but it's always interesting to go and see like the knowledge base and be like, well, I didn't know, fun fact, that the EX from Stalker Expo is 138 range. Where if we look at Gunner, Execute is 135 range. So it goes like farther. And, all of these little statistics, numbers, data, what each ability does. Like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 abilities for each bloodline. How many bloodlines do we have? I think we have 21. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 21. Yes, we have 21 bloodlines times 7. I'm going to bust out the old calculator just in case, I don't want to say anything wrong. But 21 times 7, that's 147 abilities you need to know in this game before you become any decent, right? And if you're starting out, you don't want to like memorize things off the bat and be like, oh, well, this is what Stalker does, and it's like this is how long it encaps, and the range on this is approximately like that. You just want to get in and you just want to do something, but it does have that kind of learning curve with no tutorial really to help. You get used to those bloodlines, and nobody wants to play single player against bots. They're like, yeah, this is a PvP game, man. Let's go kill some noobs. And then they get stopped. So that's also another reason why it is just so technically detailed and so unique for like every bloodline. You can't just generally categorize a lot of things. And, that's the same thing with Heroes of Newerth in League of Legends. Well, League of Legends, you have a lot more fluff to help you out, and things are a little bit easier to get into. But like Heroes of Newerth, my friend, he's like, dude, there are like 80 different characters here. I can't memorize all these abilities. Like, I'm not playing this. And I was just like, really? It's like an awesome game. But, same thing happens here. So there just needs to be that kind of interlink between the technical side and, making it easy for people to transition in. And I think, that's point number 4, tutorial, interface.
Well, I want to bring up a couple points that Blazo, no fluff.
And technically, like, you have to learn a lot.
Technically, just high learning curve. But Daniel, Normal Guy, Obregon, and Blazo bring up some excellent points where these are great ideas. Having perpetually active servers that are just like grade locked, where it's like, you have a grade rec and it never changes. 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 10, 10 to 15, and these servers are always up. and they have easily accessible bots that are available for everybody. You know, where you can just like plop a bot in. You know, you're like waiting for that 6th guy. You're just like, okay, just put a bot in. You know, he's going to be at about the same level. You know, like depending on the grade rec, you could just have like, oh, easy bots for grade 1 through 6. You know, and so on. It's just like that would be an awesome idea because people would be like, oh, there's the newbie server. Okay, cool. I can just go in there and learn and just be with new players. Yeah, sweet, dude. I'm not going to get stomped. Everybody's learning. Everybody's doing the same thing. And, you know, there you go. It's just straight up easy, and that would be an excellent way that doesn't demand too much. You know, just to have perpetual servers up, it wouldn't be too demanding a thing to ask, you know, to make it easy and more accessible for new players to show up and be like, oh, cool, this is where I can go to actually like learn the game. Whereas here it's just like, you know, you have a bunch of random pub servers and, you know, with necessarily no grade recs or grade recs that are too high because, you know, a grade 7 is going to know already a lot more than a grade 1 when he first comes in, you know. It's like it's too unforgiving still. So those are like excellent ideas. Mad shout outs to you guys. I really like those, and I really, you know, wish that the devs would take a close look at that and maybe implement them.
In fact, I'm going to write that down on my little list and, you know, talk to the devs tomorrow about it. So, you know, pen and paper in hand. Don't worry, Kast has a list of about 28 things to do. List never goes down because more developments happen with BLC and I always get distracted. So, you know, tell devs about perpetual servers. So yeah, okay, that's the question about, you know, why people are leaving, per se, correct? And I think we hit all the bases on that one.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we did a pretty good job. You know, yesterday, of course, we just went on and on about it, but I think that about sums up all the major points that we got to, you know, in a long time. We kept it short and sweet tonight.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the recording for that question, and then when we find a new question, I'll start the recording again.